Hi, YouTube. I just won't look. It's fine. Clean it up. Clean it up for YouTube. Okay. Alright. This was round 4 of the Winter Springs Open. I don't even know if I said that was the name of the tournament in any of the other ones, but it doesn't matter. This game was, educational for me, I think. Very, very much so, actually. Okay, so the previous game, I had played the wrong move on move 1, so I didn't get to do my new openings, and it pissed me off. And my opponent played d4, and it's like, listen, I could play a King's Indian, and I think I would actually kind of destroy this guy in that. But it's like, I'm gonna lose a lot of rating points anyway. So it's like, who cares if I lose? This is a great opportunity to learn some shit. Okay, so I played this move, which is a move that I'm learning, sort of. This is a good move. Not much to say about this. Okay, and here I am already sort of not knowing, like, I didn't remember any theory, because this is just like, what he's doing is kind of fucked up. My thinking is, he played e3, and a lot of the time, before they're able to play bishop d3, you want to play bishop f5, so you're able to do that. So I thought, okay, it's probably now or never if I'm gonna play bishop f5, so I did that. And then he plays this queen b3 move, which is not a very good move, but looking at the game afterwards, people were telling me, like, bishop f5 was a bad move, and here I should probably play bishop c8, and, like, all this thing is, like, and I just didn't see how I could have possibly done anything wrong already. But at the same time, what he's doing wasn't in what I looked at. So part of me was already having a lot of self-doubt during the game at this point. I was like, okay, queen b6 is the standard response, so I'll do that, which is good. And then he takes here. And everything I've done here was perfectly fine, and everything, what he did is just not very good. It's just not. But at the same time, I had never looked at this position before, and I started to get the feeling like I had done something wrong, because, okay, obviously taking with the pawn is just not very good. I don't have a whole lot of compensation for this. It's not like I'm getting play here very easily, and I don't know, like, it just looks like garbage to me. But if knight takes d5, which is the best move, and I've already equalized here if I do this. So he you're getting rid of his knight on c3, which is a very good piece, and that's kind of a, key to making this work. Because if you let him keep this knight, then, the b5 square is pretty juicy, and it's a pretty huge weakness because no pawn can ever kick it. Listen, I don't fully understand this at all. Like, I don't understand these structures at all. I'm just trying to explain to the best of my knowledge what's happening based on what a stronger player was telling me. So, I might make mistakes, so I don't know. But, okay, what I was not seeing was after it takes, okay, you trade this off, but this position, I was like, I don't know, is like his knight's gonna come here at some point? Like, bishop b5 check, I have bishop d7. So, if you play something like bishop d2, and here, the important thing here to know, and this is something that, okay, you're either gonna find it over the board because you understand the position well, and themes and shit, or you're just gonna look at this and say, I don't like this, because this is a problem. But here you just play f6, and that's kind of the whole point here. I wish I could remember everything that Josh was saying, because he just made it make so much sense, but I don't know. But, this is fine. Let's, like, follow a game that happened, I guess. And yeah, you put your king on f7, and you're gonna double the rooks over here. Not like that, but, double the rooks, maybe. If not, put a rook on c8. And you just, you just have a comfortable position. Black is maybe even slightly better here. So, yeah, and when they play a3, they're weakening b3, so maybe even knight a5 is good. And, if they overextend here, then this is happening, so. There's just a lot of positional things that I don't understand, basically. But that explains my decision when we got to this position. I had done nothing wrong. but I thought I did. I had a feeling I did. Another thing about this guy is he takes no time. Absolutely no time on any of his moves. By the end of the game, I was under a minute, and he still had 75 minutes left. Okay? That's what we're dealing with. So he was moving fast and confident, which either is a sign that he knows what he's doing, or a sign that he's lazy. Yay, thanks for the 22 months, McSqueegee. Appreciate you coming back there, Chief. But because I had never seen this before, I assumed that I had done something wrong, and so I tried to come up with something creative to do here, when actually he was the one who did something wrong. This is just not very good way to play with white, so it wasn't important enough to put in the quick starter of what I looked at. So I basically got gaslit, okay? And then even after the game, everyone was thinking that I had already done something wrong here when I hadn't. Bishop f5 is totally fine. It's maybe even the best move. But like these psychological aspects keep fucking me up. So I don't know, because it was like, how am I to build pressure here? It's just not making sense to me, and this like allowing a piece coming to b5. But the whole point is I have to trade off the knight on c3 and play f6. But I did not understand f6. I don't know, because that's the other huge point of taking on d5 with the knight, is you're vacating the square so you can play f6, which, you know, went over my head. So here I decided to play e6, and I was saying I'm gonna sack a pawn, but my position is pretty solid, and I have this plan: put a knight here or here, and now my bishop is pointing this way, and I don't know, keep my king in the center and double the rooks. And I was like, okay, I definitely don't have enough compensation. I'm just worse here. But at least it's interesting. I mean, I keep making these decisions based on the assumption that I'm worse when I'm not. So sometimes I just very much undervalue my position. But he kind of starts playing nonsense moves instantly. So bishop d2 is, I guess he's concerned about this, I guess. But I went there anyway. And a3 doesn't do anything because this is pinned. So I'm developing quite quickly with, you know, a little bit of momentum, not memento. Okay, but and he's, you know, he's doing weird things. Okay, so he plays rook c1 and they play bishop e7, and a big reason I'm delaying castling so long is because it makes more sense to keep the king in the center, because it's going to be an endgame. It is an endgame. Maybe technically a queenless middle game. I don't really know the difference. I don't really know. I've just heard that word thrown around. But okay, so here's our first very instructional point from Josh. So here I went b5 immediately, which is the best move according to this computer. But Josh liked h6 here, because he's a little bit concerned about this. I mean, we didn't come to, it was just like his first thought. But I was thinking this isn't such a big deal because I go bishop b3. My bishop can't really be kicked out of there, and eventually I'll play h6 and go back. So he's kind of wasting a move by doing this. But like if he goes knight g5 here, he has e4 right away. Yeah, this is what Josh was saying. Okay, so this position after b5, he kicks my bishop here, but now he's going e4, and he has this plan of just trading off my light squared bishop, which is my best piece. Maybe. I feel bad because it made so much sense when we were talking about it, but I'm forgetting half of the important things, so I'm probably just making incorrect statements. But I guess I just won't talk out of my ass. We'll just leave this part out. Maybe I should have just let Josh explain this game, because I didn't get anything that was happening. Okay, here's my plan. I'm gonna put a knight on b6, and I'm basically just playing for the light squares. Because the one good thing about my position is that or at least in this position, I didn't have any weaknesses. It could be argued that this is a weakness now. So, and you know, I have more dark square problems. But now he goes knight g5, or knight e5, sorry. And here I do actually remember what Josh is saying. So my thinking with the knight on e5 is that is by far his best piece. So to me, it made sense to trade it off. However, if I just castle and he plays something like king e2, my idea, okay, knight e8 isn't working right here because of d5 might be working, and the point is that I want to trap his rook, my rook. But I could play like rook d8 here, and then knight f8 and just play f6. And then we did a ton of analysis from here. Like we ended up doing this type positioning. It got really crazy. I was playing white in the postmortem, and I started attacking, as you do in the end game. But yeah, this position. Okay, I kicked his knight out, and now I'm bringing the knight to d6, and I have another piece looking at c4, which is, you know, a big point of contention. So that makes a lot more sense. That made a lot more sense to me. As soon as he pointed out the plan of knight e8 to d6, or even c7 to d5, I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. And it's frustrating because it makes so much sense, but yet it didn't occur to me at all. But I played knight d7, which is not terrible. But in a position like this where I'm just down a pawn for little to no compensation, I should probably be keeping pieces on the board instead of simplifying it for him. So, okay, so he takes it, and I just thought it was nice that I was able to recapture with the king, and it's an endgame. You know, my king is in the center, it's good. So then he castled, which I thought was just like nonsense. I feel like, and he's spending no time on any of these moves, so it's incredibly frustrating. I thought pretty obviously king e2 is what you should do. I feel like most people above 2000 would instantly play king e2 and not really consider castles, but what do I know? He just was playing instantly and beating me effortlessly, which was fun. And that I spent like 10 minutes here because I want to put a piece on c4, but you have to, okay, which piece? And there was a long thought process here. So I think that, you know, both could be argued, I guess. It's nice having a knight on c4, which is a reason why you would consider doing this. But at the same time, after rook c2, my knight's not really doing anything. I mean, it looks pretty, but anything I had going for me is kind of over. It's just, there's no way to continue with whatever I thought I had going on the queen side. So then I started thinking about, okay, keeping the bishop pair is definitely one way to try and get some compensation, especially when he has so many light square weaknesses. If I have a light square bishop and he doesn't, that makes them even weaker. But I had to think about, after knight c4, rook c2. Because rook c2 is kind of an annoying move. Just like leaving it there and seeing what I'm going to do. I don't really have a follow-up here. It's unclear if I should take on d2 or not. I'm still getting the bishop pair, but it's definitely less ideal than if I were to get the light squared bishop. But I thought about this position for a while, and I just decided I had nothing better than to go for this, because I don't have anything better than knight c4. But then, of course, I spent 10 minutes on this move, and he instantly captures, which I was very happy to see. I don't know why he did that, but he just, without any thought, he just took on c4. And okay, the biggest problem I have, besides being down a pawn, is he has a very strong center if he can get e4 in. And with that in mind, I'd like to play f5 to just stop this from happening. But if I play f5, he probably just goes e4 anyway, and I didn't really like the look of this position. I just maybe it's what I should go for. I'm not sure, but I just don't like the look of this, because his pieces are getting active. My king is kind of a lot, like, weak now, and it's just looked kind of miserable. Basically, it doesn't matter if f5 is the best move or not at this point, because I'm already worse. I'm already down a pawn. I need to find a way to have counterplay, or I will just, like, slowly lose without a fight. So I came up with an idea. I don't know. I mean, Josh thought it was pretty good, but my opponent thought it was stupid. Instantly played what I wanted him to play. So I don't want him to play e4. I really don't want him to play e4, because everything starts falling apart when this happens. So the only other way to stop e4 besides, you know, trying to prevent it directly is indirectly stopping it by pinning the pawn. And bishop g5 looks kind of stupid at first, because you're just, oh, but I just play knight e4 and you have to go back. But that was my point. I made him block his pawn so he couldn't play e4. That was my whole idea. And if he doesn't play knight e4, if he does, I don't know what else he would do. Something stupid like f3. Now I play f5, and now I'm gonna put a rook on e8, and it's gonna be a lot easier to stop him from expanding in the center, and it's getting closer to equal. So knight e4 is kind of forced, but again, he spent no time on it. I was like, all right. And now I just go back, and for now I have stopped e4 from happening. So I was happy. And he was just happy too, because all he wanted to do in this position was swap the places of these two pieces. Okay, fair enough. But now I have time to play f5, and he doesn't have e4 as a response here. So knight d2, and I play rook e8 here. And I am still sort of slightly worried about e4. Probably not in this position, because I don't know, this is a little different, I think, because I already have a rook on e8, so it's not quite as bad. Why not bishop d5? Okay, so, oh yeah, I do need to explain this, because a lot of people would probably be... This was definitely one of the hardest decisions of the game, was whether to keep my light squared bishop or not. But the thing is, anywhere I move my bishop, like, okay, say here, same thing goes for this move, and this move, and this move, probably. But he can either just go knight f3, which I thought was pretty annoying. I mean, I don't want to do this. It just makes it easier for him to expand in the center. Although, I mean, I don't know. He could also just play f3 here, and my bishop is in the way for this. It was more in the sense of this move that he has knight f3 that I was annoyed by. And now he's just going here, so I can't play knight d3. But bishop d5 is just sort of in my own way, and it's making e4 even better, so f3 makes even more sense here. And other than that, like bishop f7, still knight f3. It's just extremely irritating. It's like, oh, okay, but what about bishop f6? But this position, I don't know. I'm not really comfortable with allowing this pawn happening here. Well, we did a lot of analysis in this type of position. I thought we looked at an actual line here. Yeah. And this shit, like, Josh was trying to make this work a lot of the time, but it just was never working because... like, my bishop is going to get trapped sometime. I want to find the line. It was pretty... Yeah, this line. Like, Josh was still trying to make this work. But now my bishop is trapped. It's just, like... very sad. I just didn't like this pawn. That's my whole explanation. It made me uncomfortable having a pawn all in my face like that. So, the reason I don't play... I don't save my bishop is because the knight becomes unstoppable. It's opposite color bishop, so if I defend perfectly, maybe I have some chance of drawing, but I really don't think so. So that is why, and this is actually the best move. This is why I do this. And of course, without any thought, he takes on c4. But his bishop's pretty fucking bad, so I'm pretty happy here, all things considered. It could be worse. I can always play b5 at some point, and breaking in the center is still what he wants to do, so I just like to stop that in any way I can, if I can manage it. So, okay, so he plays f3 with the subtle idea in mind. But now I actually go back to g5. What I love so much about this game, I just lost and I had no chance, really, because I, just assumed I had fucked up the opening when I didn't, so I sacked a pawn. This bishop was so fucking good. It was so fucking good, and I almost saved the game. So, okay, again, I'm utilizing this pin, so he cannot play e4. So he has to spend time actually preparing it. More time preparing it, and that allows me to spend time preparing for when it happens. Because I can't stop it forever. It's just not possible. Unless, magically, I get this position, but it just won't. It's just never gonna happen. It's just not gonna work. So, now that his king is here... I don't know, he has to spend some time pushing pawns and making weaknesses if he doesn't want to have to move his king back. We repeated moves a few times, because that's what classy chess players do. So e4 is finally here, but at least I'm decently prepared for it, and it's pretty hard to get either of these breaks in. So I made sort of a waiting move here, because obviously he can't take right now, and either push is bad. You know, like, okay, we're getting to just kind of a draw by neither side can make progress, even though he's up a pawn, because this bishop is so stupid. So he plays g3, because if he goes king f2 again, then maybe I do this again or something. Not here, but I don't know, something to consider at least. So he plays g3, and bishop d8 was one of my favorite moves to play in the game. I think it's surprising how much better my bishop is than his. This bishop is a pawn. Like, it just sucks. But this bishop has so much range, it's doing a lot of shit. And now I'm going to be stopping breaks with different pins, and stopping him from coming in different ways. So he plays king f2. What's the time situation like here? Let's see. He still has 81 minutes. 81 minutes, and I have 23. So I've spent an hour more than him. And then I spent some time thinking about, if I just go g6 here, can white win this? Because it's sort of unclear. What is white's break? His pieces are set up, you know, where they want to be right now, but at the same time, they're kind of stopping any progress from being made. You know, I don't want to block my rooks by getting the king in that way. I can't do this to get the king in, but at the same time, I'm going to be playing bishop b6 and stopping all the pawn breaks, and this is a problem. King can't really get out. Bishop is so fucking good. So here's what we're looking at. King f1, bishop b6 takes. And this endgame is a draw. You know, and at this point I was trying to actually beat Josh at c5, which is stupid. It's just equal, but I was trying to win. It's interesting, at least. But the extra pawn doesn't really matter because there's just no good break, and my bishop is much better than his. Okay, so I thought for a long time about that, correctly assessed the position, and then I thought I found something that was better, because I'm an idiot. So I defended really well and, like, pretty much almost equalized. And then I was like, wait, but, like, what happens after f4? And the reason I did this is because, okay, g6 is me begging for a draw, and I know it's insane, and I know it's a little bit, it doesn't make any sense, and it's deranged, but I was still trying to win this. And I'll tell you why. I will tell you exactly why. This is a game I played with the same person a little while back, where I hung a pawn, and we got into the most dead-lost rook and pawn game ever. Endgame ever. Here. And I drew this shit against him. And he's moving instantly, and listen, I thought it was just disgusting how he spent no time in the entire game, and how he's just gonna beat me because I beat myself. So I was like, well, I might as well go down in flames, you know? Because I drew this shit. He fell for the one trick that I had here. Now it's a draw because I have this move. So that was good. But that is why, more psychological reasons that are stupid and don't make sense. Okay, so I played f4, and my point is that after this, I have rook g6, and now I have a pretty fucking big threat of taking, and then playing bishop h4, and the pawn is undefendable, okay? And, you know, I thought that threat was pretty obvious. I thought he had to, like, move this rook in order to do this. But he spent no time and instantly played this move. He just, like, didn't understand that was my threat. And I go here, and, okay, this is equal. This is equal again. And here I was really confused because I thought I was, like, close to winning, because I'm going to disconnect his pawns if given the chance, and I'm going to have an outside pass pawn, and I started to feel like I was the only one with actual winning chances. But then he has this, like, really fucked up move. He has king h3, which I didn't see initially when I decided to play f4. Like, this didn't cross my mind. So it's fine. I'm still doing fine here. But king h3 was, like, it kind of shocked me, and it scared me a lot. And now I'm down to, like, 15 minutes, and he still has, like, 80. So I guess black to play. There's no win. There's no easy draw. It's just, I mean, there's only one good continuation, but I kind of, at this point, I was so exhausted from defending such a terrible position, I started to, I missed this move at the very end of the line. The good line, I just missed a move, so I was like, oh, I can't do that. So I did something else that's losing, but, defend this shit. Go. Pause the video here. Let me read the chat. There's interesting people in the chat right now. What's happening? Lichess is awarding me with the FM title. Things that didn't happen. Okay. I feel like I'm the only one interested in this game by reading the chat, but it's fine. So king h3 fucked me up. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's really upsetting and disturbing when you miss a move like king h3. You just didn't consider it, and then it's played. It just kind of throws you off. It's like, whoa, what? I feel like trading the queen had no value for you. I don't know. That's just the standard response to queen b3 in this opening. Okay. So bishop takes g3, and what we have to the big problem and the big reason king h3 is so upsetting is after bishop takes g3, there's rook g1. Okay, and he's threatening to take our bishop. Where do we put our bishop? You beat James Blunder? Tell me your name, you cheating motherfucker! Was that you? Anyway. Okay, bishop takes g3, rook g1. Also, if you're so good, why don't you explain to me how to draw this position without using a computer? Engine user. Sounds like it. He knows everything, yeah. You really seem like you're overcompensating for something. I'm sorry, but I think that's the problem. Okay, any guesses, any suggestions? Anyone have any idea what's going on? Because I don't think anyone cares but me, and this is interesting. It's not even that hard. You just have to, calculate the line decently well and correctly evaluate the end position. It's not like you have to find any crazy moves, okay? So after bishop e5, rook takes g6, h takes g6, bishop takes e5, rook takes e5, and f4, then what? That's the line I was looking at in the game. And I saw f4. Yeah, I didn't see rook h5 check was possible in my head, in my little head, because I suck at calculating. I looked at that position, I saw f4, and I thought I had to go back, and I'm like, oh, it's like a fucking pawn wave, it's disgusting. Well, obviously, like, d takes c has to happen at some point. And it's just gross. So, yeah. That line is perfectly fine for me. We'll throw this in. I did not see rook h5. I also was not considering it in the specific move order. I was considering it more here. And it's a lot worse if I don't have rook h5 in this position rather than the other one, because in the other position I also have rook c5. And yeah, I am like, I think I'm losing if I go here. Like, it's not fun. I don't know. Greater miracles have happened, like in our last game. Maybe I could hold this. But I thought it was pretty gross looking. So I decided in this position to go here, which is a bad move. Because I'm giving up the g-pawn, but in my head, like rook takes g6, h takes g6, king g4, g5, d takes c, king takes c, bishop g7. I thought it was keeping his king out, sort of, with this little arrangement I had going. But when you actually get to the position, it's just not working. I don't know. I keep like stopping one move too soon or missing the last move in a line. It's really bad. I don't know why I would go for this, honestly. I had no time left, but it's not really an excuse. It's pretty hopeless here. And the problem is I thought I could effectively get my king here and blockade and like play rook d8. But and I also thought having my bishop on f4 was helpful because he can't cut my king off. But if I just go like something like this, like he goes king f5 and I can't kick him out like I for some reason thought I could. And now this is happening, there's a lot of bad things happening. So this just sucks. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm losing. And at this point I had just realized I had accepted it. I accepted defeat at this point. And then here, see, okay, one more instructional position. Fun endgame stuff. And okay, so black plays king c5, and rook d5 check would be the fastest way to win if it wins. So I spent a lot of time calculating this to the end, and I did it. So after king c5, here's our little endgame study of the day. Can white play rook d5 check? I think this is a pretty good instructional position. And I had fun figuring it out, but yeah, he was still playing fast. I think his longest think was 4 minutes was his longest think for the entire game. So it definitely is the fastest win if it wins. But it requires concrete calculation. So rook takes d5, check. You have to recapture. Rook takes d5, e takes d5. And if you don't play king takes, you can't very much do this and start going after the pawns because he just queens very quickly. So you kind of have to play king takes d5, and then after king g5. This is a another important position. So if we're just counting in that position, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we are down a full important tempo, and if you know anything about endgames, queen versus pawn endgames, if you get to a position where there's nothing on the board besides king, pawn, and queen, depending on where the pawn is on which file it's on, it's either a win or a draw for the queen. So if it is a rook pawn or a bishop pawn, it's a draw, depending on how far away white's king is. Okay, so keep that in mind and think again, and maybe think about it from a fresh perspective in that way. Also, if I have an extra pawn, then it's probably not a draw because there's no stalemate possibilities. So what we need to do is we need to gain at least one full tempo in order to have a chance of drawing this. This is kind of the type of problems that I've been going through in my book. Is they give you a hypothetical, can white do this? And still win, something like this. The timeout gives you a timeout. Hold on, let me give you a timeout. There you go. Now you know. I don't seem to have too many mods. Right now, 100 Endgames You Must Know, the newer edition is the one I'm looking at, plus 2 other Endgame books. So, any ideas? And I came up with this, like, decently quick. Because, like, you know, I'm still trying to draw, actually. Oh, no, I thought for 6 minutes here until I had 6 minutes left, so, and I played King c5. And I think that gives you a hint that there is a way to draw after Rook d5. Okay, I will reveal the answer now, because I know it seems like no one's going to get it. So the problem with Rook d5 is after takes here. If I take the most direct path to go pick up a pawn, it is taking too many moves. But the more direct path move-wise is actually to play King c5 here. And King c5 is the most important idea here. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense at first because I'm just not directly going towards the pawn. But at the same time, you have to realize that if I could play this move and get another move, taking here, then I would be queening. And another really important thing, I queen with check. So after King c5, if he starts pushing his pawn, I have b4. And if he pushes his pawn again, I have this, okay? And obviously this is bad because he's actually losing here because I queen with check. And I just pick up this pawn. His king is not close enough to defend this. And even if he could, he has another pawn, so there are no stalemates. So he can't do that. So knowing that much and how he has to keep pushing the pawn, he can't keep pushing the pawn. So here, looking at this position, so instead of going there in one move, we went here and basically won because we forced white to make another move. So this only does that make sense? We gained an entire move by doing it this way. And now this is an easy draw because I get my pawn to c2 in time. And there's no way that's possible for white to win because the normal way you would win a pawn like this is you'd want to put the king in front of the pawn, and then once the king is in front of the pawn, you bring your king in. But the problem is if I try and get this done, do the typical, my dog is dreaming, okay, do this typical maneuver where you do this, or even here, and then this is typically the position you'd want, say the pawn is here and the king is here and the queen is here, and then I either have to step away from the pawn and it gets captured, or I have to step here and then the king goes forward. And you keep repeating that pattern until the king is close enough to take the pawn. But when it is a bishop pawn, the problem is I can play king a1 and the pawn can't be captured because it's stalemate. So he has to just keep guarding the square. Same is true of a rook pawn, because if I ever step in front of my pawn where you can make progress, it would be in a position where the queen is on one of these two squares, and if you move the king in, it's a draw because it's stalemate. So I thought all that out, and I was so excited, and I thought I was going to save the game because I know how badly he fucked up the other one. And then, after I played king c5, he just instantly played rook d8. I was like, God damn it. I know he didn't think about any of that shit. I know it. I know there's no way he spent any time thinking about that shit. That's why it's, like, so annoying. I'm like, ugh. I just put in so much effort. It's just not good enough for anything. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't put the rest of the game in because it's kind of pointless. He ended up, I don't know, like something like this happened. And then here. And obviously here, he has an extra pawn in this scenario. So that's a loss. But I still had fun because I was like, ooh, I found a draw with king c5. It's like, oh, that makes up for the whole thing. But there you go. All done. All done that game forever. I don't understand the structure. That's my excuse. But I will. What?